amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are connecting from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remain blessed. Whenever you look my video, whenever you watch my video, share the video to all platforms. Share it to family and friends. Share it in your WhatsApp group so that people can get information on what is happening in the contraption called Nigeria, mainly against the Biafrans, against the Duduas, against the indigenous people in the contraption called Nigeria. I try as much as possible to set the record straight. I don't preach hate speech. I don't speak against people. I set the record straight. The only important thing I do here is to make sure that the plight of the people remains on the front burner and the world will know the true story of what is going on in the contraption called Nigeria.
Well, you see, the attack by Governor Umahi on the judiciary and on the judge and his tongue lashing of that very judgment, which was seen to be very, very acidic, I should say it's a part of the character of the governor, because in Ebonyi State we have learned to live with his excesses, and he is generally perceived as somebody who is a bully and doesn't take to any opinion that is contrary to his own. So to that extent, his vituperations represented his totalitarian and dictatorial mindset, which of course was condemned by the Nigerian Bar Association president. And of course you have also heard that he has apologized. You may also recall that in the year 2020, when he banned some journalists from entering government house, and the entire media centers all over the country descended on him, including the Nigerian Bar Association, Nigerian Union of Journalists, the Guild of Editors, and others. The same Umahi had to recant and also had to apologize. So I would say that he's always an apologist who is also suffering from apologia. In other words, he may be somebody that may be described as not having a very stable character, because at that level of position, when you are a governor, you are expected to be a leader who should have certain qualities. And this is a democratic dispensation where everybody is entitled to his opinion. And even if the judge or the court came up with that ruling, you knew that that was not going to be the final statement on that. You see how the Court of Appeal to go to, and of course the Supreme Court. Yet he descended on them. That is what we have been suffering. The way he descends on the people of Ebonyi State. The way he manifests anarchic tendencies, which have been inflaming passions all over the place. So that's what we have learned to live with, my brother. It's a very terrible situation. The people of Ebonyi State are highly jubilant. People are happy, they are celebrating all over the place, and some of them who are afraid because of the dictatorial tendencies of the governor and his unpredictability, who prefer to, celebrate quietly, maybe in their homes and in such other places where they may not be, seen. So that's the scenario. People are happy, not only in Ebonyi State. As I'm speaking to you, I'm talking from Enugu. And I have been able to monitor, events, how people are reacting and responding to this development from the entire Southeast. People are jubilant. The people of the Southeast are jubilant because there is a thinking that some of the excesses we are getting from our present crop of leaders should be checkmated. And so that judgment came at the right time to try to instill discipline into the attitude and conduct of the political class. You can't just be moving up and down and talking anyhow. But you were elected and you from a particular platform. So why can't you organize yourself? And of course, he has not adduced any reason why he had to leave the party where he was in. There was no conflict in the party. There was no division there. But it's only recently that some people have opined that he may have decided to leave the party because he felt that that would be a better way of saving himself from the inquisition of the EFCC and other agencies of government because of his excesses And because he's also a leader that has been associated with a lot of issues, he has a very voracious veracity for self-service, using the instruments of government for his personal enrichment and so forth and so on.
Okay.
So these are the issues at stake. And so people are quite jubilant. They were happy. Even though he has said he has appealed, well, let's look at how the issues will play out.
Okay. Just to create some level of balance, and balance is needed here. Are all of this your allegations because you are fighting with the governor? Because you once served as the director of media and publicity for Governor Dave Umahi's campaign organization called the Divine Mandates. Is it because you are falling apart? That's why you are saying all of this? And secondly, didn't you know all of this about him before you served as the publicity director for his campaign? Can I also add a third one to it?
Okay,
is it that you sold a bad product to people?
Thank you very much for that important question.
Yes.
I want to thank you for that important question. But let me make this observation. As at the time I worked for him as Director of Media and Publicity, 2015, before the elections, when he was elected for his first tenure, remember that even as a father, it is not all the time that you can vouch for your children that you get birth to. Even God, who created man, after creating man, eventually regretted creating him. So if I had known somebody, and then there was a political movement, and I was called upon to play a certain role, and that person eventually gets elected and gets into office, and decides to behave anyhow or to develop excesses and becomes uncontrollable, and is not ready to take advice from anybody, including traditional rulers and all kinds of, nobody can ever. He wants to control all the three organs of government, himself alone. I cannot be blamed for disagreeing with him because I'm not his maker. I'm not his parents. And even if I were to be, we have had instances where such people or institutions became flabbergasted and had to disagree with such individuals. So that's the point I am making. I cannot tell you that I will permanently be vouching for somebody simply because I worked with that person a certain time ago. Because human beings change every time. And so if he changes and becomes, what he's becoming right now, and of course the entire country is now seeing what he's doing, you see, and so I think I'm not the only one that is disagreeing with him. You have seen many people. When I started criticizing him openly, I told him that some of the things I have seen you do are things that I cannot personally stomach. And I gave him a notice that if he does not change from some of these things, that I'm going to start disagreeing with him openly. And I said it. You can ask him if you have the opportunity to.
Chief Onyike, in addition to everything, you are also a journalist. You were once Deputy National President of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. And in this our business, we always talk about balance. We always talk about fairness. Okay, this is Dave Umahi, and you've been talking about his excesses. Is it possible that there are certain things you know about him that are positive that you would like to recommend? This is beyond the legal matter that he's having to deal with now. And then, of course, you know that he's interested in the presidential race. And he was one of those persons who declared openly he would like to be president of Nigeria. Are you saying that, in fact, that particular ambition should be considered dead on arrival?
Well, let me take the first question. I think somebody cannot be totally evil or bad. There must be at least 5 or 10% aspects of his life that would be positive. I think Umahi is a young man who bubbles with a lot of energy. And I think he's quite hardworking and creative. But the thing is, the way he has used the energy and the way he has used that creativity has not been to promote, positive legacies for humanity. That's the only thing I can say about that. Now, as far as his presidential aspiration is concerned, I personally think that he is entitled to it because this is a democracy. Anybody can aspire to anything. But to me, he is going to be a disaster if he is imposed at the national level, because this is somebody who doesn't believe in any form of law. He doesn't believe in statutory laws which govern public service. At least somebody, if you want to lead people, you want to govern people, you must understand that the society is governed by laws. And that's why we have what we call bureaucracy. Dave Umahi doesn't believe in such things. For instance, the first thing he did when he became governor in Ebonyi State was to behead the civil service. The entire civil service, he beheaded the civil service. No permanent secretaries were appointed. He worked alone, controlling the ministries directly with his commissioners for the 4 years of his first tenure. And only appointed permanent secretaries during his second tenure. Go and check the records there. Which means that all the appropriations that were executed in those ministries within that period may have been null and void. You see? But he failed to take advice from anybody. So coming to talk about presidency, I don't know how he will get about it. You know, Ebonyi State is a very small state. And we have to tell ourselves the truth. If you cannot run a state as small as Ebonyi, you are not paying the standard salaries to workers. The salary table he uses to pay workers is somebody, a director in the Ebonyi State, receives 100,000 naira. Because of the table he himself imposed on the workers, and then divided the working class, and made sure that the trade unions and the house unions were devastated, so that they can have nobody talking for them. And so if that is what is possible, then maybe when he becomes president, he wouldn't appoint permanent secretaries. And let's see how that thing would happen. So I think before somebody begins to aspire to certain levels of office, he should not be driven by self-interest. This man we are talking about is self-willed. He is self-opinionated and self-serving. Somebody must have the capacity to be a team player, to listen to other opinions, except you are going to have him transform into a military dictator. Otherwise, I don't see him playing within the democratic tenets in Nigeria today.
Okay, and yet in spite of all of that, now that Governor Umahi has decided to appeal, it might very well be that he will remain governor of Ebonyi State till the end of his tenure. What's your reaction to that possibility or likelihood?
Returned by higher courts. It's also likely that the higher courts may also uphold the judgment of the federal high court.
I'm saying the duration that will
take. So in which case he'll be thrown out. So it's a two-way issue.
No, sir.
It's either he goes or he stays. But whether or not,
I was referring to the duration. I can't hear you clearly. Whether or not the judgment from the lower courts is upheld, it might take a while before we find out. And by the time we do find out whether the ruling is in his favor or against him, his tenure is likely to already be over. So he will remain Ebonyi State governor. What's your reaction to that possibility?
But he has already been unsettled. Yeah, like the press release I issued the day before yesterday, I said he has already been cut to size because he never believed that this kind of thing could happen to him. He was behaving like the owner of Nigeria. Do you know that this very man, when he was still in PDP, one day told us that he is both in PDP and in APC, and that he is the only person that can belong to two political parties at a time, and that anybody who ever tries to emulate him will get into trouble. So what kind of mentality is that in a democracy?
Okay, real quickly, can you take this? Some people say your sour grapes is because you violated COVID-19 protocols and you were arrested because of that. Can you tell us what happened really?
Okay, now on the 9th of May in the year 2020, I was invited to Enugu from Abakaliki to go and be part of a discussion panel in a Dream FM radio station in Enugu. And that was part of the celebration of the June 12th anniversary, 21 years of democratic governance in Nigeria. So I went there and we discussed. We were looking at performance of the performances of governors and governments from 1999 to that period. And so because of some of the assessments we made and some of the opinions we held, the governor felt that I should be subjected to inquisition. He was not happy. In fact, before I could arrive at Abakaliki, I noticed that his younger brother, whom he had imposed as the national vice chairman of PDP, was already sending text messages insulting me to my phone. And I had to overlook it. But later on, when he persisted, I told him, my friend, I don't know you. Whom I know is the governor. I don't know you. We're not living here. I don't know why you came in here, either because of your stomach problem. Why not keep quiet and allow us to play the politics? You have now remembered politics now. So now, later on, the governor went and addressed the state. He addressed the state on radio and television and said that I have been declared wanted and that the security agency should go to my house, get me, and make sure that I'm subjected to 2 weeks isolation. That why did I pass through the border between Abakaliki and Enugu? So, while I felt that as a professional journalist, I think it was essential service that I was going to be involved in that discussion. So, but later on, you know, they persisted and dragged me to the Directorate of SSS. And they talked. So, but when the SSS man came, I had to advise him to be very careful with Umahi, because Umahi should not be allowed to destroy the careers of other people. Since he himself was never a public officer and he doesn't respect laws, since he had decided to be lawless, sometimes he can drag you into trouble. And as if I knew what was going to happen, about 2 weeks after that time, that very director of SSS was, you know, removed from that very place and sent on retirement immediately because of certain things he had followed Umahi to commit. So these are the issues. He had no reason for that inquisition, other than that he now felt that, now he went to court and instituted 4 court cases against me, calling local government chairmen in Abakaliki and in other places, Afikbo, South Afikbo, not the court cases were there until they were recently struck out for lack of merit.
Well, Chief, well, I mean, this is very interesting story coming out of Ebonyi. But the governor has been accusing the PDP of being behind these travails. He says, you know, PDP lawyers are the ones who have misrepresented the situation in Ebonyi State. Would like your comment on that. And also, what is the connection between all of this and the 2023 gubernatorial election in Ebonyi State? Because you've been quoted as saying that this is a conflict between the Izi and the Eza clan, you know, the conflict of the senatorial districts. Is there a connection there? Is this part of an attempt to begin to prepare for the 2023 general elections? As it will appear, the governor's people are claiming.
Well, this is a political period, so anything happening would always be ascribed to politics. But why should he blame the PDP when he himself was the one who defected from PDP to APC? So what did he expect the PDP to do? Because he stole their mandate and took it to another political party after having been elected twice as governor. And he was also a former state chairman of the party. He was also a former deputy governor of the state. All these things he got under the platform of the PDP, and there was no genuine reason for him to decamp, other than what people are saying, to run away from EFCC's inquisition. Now he did it. And these people decided to take him to court. So how can he turn around to blame them? Well, as far as preparations for 2023 are concerned, I think Umahi's days are numbered, and his political relevance in Ebonyi State has nosedived, because even before this court ruling, many of his appointees and those working with him have been leaving the APC to return back to the PDP. And you know what happened in the State House of Assembly just before this one was that the Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly decided to return back to PDP Then all of a sudden, they just unilaterally and dictatorially declared his seat vacant. Now, they went to court. 2 other members of the House, their seats were also declared vacant. Those 3 people went to the court and got a reverse and returned back. So I don't know what Umahi's fears are, but the issue is that he is not going to contest a governorship election any longer. So why is he insisting? Must he impose somebody like him on Ebonyi? Does he want to destroy Ebonyi permanently or what? Why can't he be satisfied with the opportunity he has had, which he has messed up? Many people are dying instrumentally, including retirees. He has never paid gratuity since he became governor in 2015. Yet he's amassing wealth all over the place. Went to his village and built 25 mansions and has properties all over Nigeria and outside the country. So why should people be subjected to hunger and being allowed to die because of the wickedness of one man?
Well, on the topic of Igbo presidency for 2023, that's the reason that Governor Umahi cited as defecting from PDP to APC, that PDP, in spite of the support that the Southeast has always given the party, has never repaid that support adequately by fielding a presidential candidate of Igbo extraction. You've made your feelings abundantly clear about Governor Umahi, but do you see any merit in his arguments? And what will you be doing to encourage PDP to do?
There is no merit in that argument. That argument was very, very self-serving because that was not actually the reason why he moved. Because even if it were, it was it Umahi that would have made the argument. The issue of Igbo presidency is quite larger than life. And if we begin discussing it now, we may not have sufficient time. But I think Umahi moved for reasons that are very, very selfish and are very, very personal. And the so-called presidential ambition, which he is nursing, let him look at himself very well and know whether he has any quality that can recommend him for such a high office. After desecrating the office of governor in Ebonyi State and creating crisis all over the place, then he's aspiring to become governor. Spending our money unnecessarily and carrying a lorry and trailer loads of rice all over the place to all parts of the country, that he is contesting presidency. This is a man who had nothing before he became governor. Now, where is he getting the whole billions he's spending? Where is he getting it from? Is it not public money? And then people are not paid proper salary. Retirees are not being paid. And then you are contesting presidency just because you want to be extremely selfish and self-serving.
Right. So much to unpack this morning as regards, what is happening in Ebonyi State. I'd just like to ask you, what is the political outlook like? You said some people are jubilating at this decision and the likes. Some other parties too are saying, they're gearing up, Umahi will fight this to the very end. What is the political outlook really as regards, Dave Umahi and the state? And can you also chart a course for, as regards, development in the state for me in general? And I also want to bring up the case.
Well,
just a minute, sir. I also want to bring up the case, if you know anything about it, about a construction worker that has been missing for a while in that state. The engineer of a certain construction company that has been missing for a while.
5 engineers have been missing. And those engineers were working for a construction firm following the loans obtained from the African Development Bank for the construction of ring roads in Ebonyi State. Now, the 5 engineers had a direct conflict and disagreement with Governor Umahi. The vehicles they were given for their project vehicles, Umahi ordered them to bring it to him in Government House. Then, he also wanted to control the disbursement of funds for the construction work. And they said, no, that is not the way we operate. We are autonomous and independent. You don't have to come in. Then he insisted that they must do that and that the vehicle must be brought. So they now sent him one of the vehicles and had one left for their work, which their manager was using. Shortly after this confrontation, these people were missing. And Umahi himself used his mouth to tell the press, to announce publicly that these people have been confirmed dead. Then the question was, where are their corpses? And up till now, there is no answer to that. Ebonyi State since Umahi came into office, have been overtaken by communal disturbances, all kinds of killings here and there, because of his politics of divide and rule. And what we are saying is that if this kind of scenario is allowed to continue, it will be very, very destructive, very, very dangerous for our people. So Ebonyi people are praying that Umahi should wind up and let the time come for him to leave office so that we can recover ourselves and continue to live as peacefully as we used to live before. His regime has been very, very strange. And it is like a thunderbolt that hit the people of Ebonyi State. Extremely regrettable. Nothing positive about it. Now, talking about the development of the state, Umahi concentrated on white elephant projects and projects that will give him the opportunity to make personal money. And what we are saying is, what was the deal building a new government house in a poor state like Ebonyi? The government house in Ebonyi is a standard one. Why did he build a new one? The government house in Enugu, have they built a new one? The White House in Washington, is 200 years, have they built a new one? So now, because he's always going into projects through which there will be conduit pipes for siphoning of funds. He also went to build something like a ShopRite, a shopping mall. And businessmen came to him and said, don't build it, give us the land, we will now bring our private sector money and build it, and we run it and we'll be paying you tax. Umahi insisted that he must build it himself. And then after building whatever he built there, he told us it was 8 billion naira. Then he went and said he's building another one that has to do with the church. Then after building it, he told us it is 7 billion naira. So what kind of person is that? And a quantity surveyor told me, told me in confidence that those houses cannot be more than 2 billion naira each. So that's what we are saying. And this is a state that we are educationally very, very backward. When he came, he canceled the scholarships that were obtainable and made sure that everything about funding of schools was highly and drastically reduced. There is no functional general hospital in Ebonyi State. Agriculture is not even doing well like it used to do before. So what are we talking about? Is he a developmentalist? He doesn't believe in anything. Then he's building flyovers all over the place, in places where you don't have traffic congestion, because of an arrangement he has made with people in the federal government to be sharing money. So is that what should interest Ebonyi people?
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you and remain blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.